Father Simon and the purveyors of posthumous pardon. I am writing to ask forgiveness for an event not from this century.
Wow. This is the first.
Or even the last, but from the mid-1800s.
Oh, wow.
Goodness
How about
me.
that? It's a story of great wrong, which has become a bit of a legend in my family, and I feel that as I'm part of the direct bloodline, it's my duty to bring it out into the open and hopefully seek belated forgiveness.
This is good.
It's got an epic feel. My great-grandmother, who we will call Roberta, was a peripatetic teacher. For those who don't know, this is a teacher who will travel from school to school, teaching their speciality, which for Roberta was home economics. She would spend 3 months at a time touring schools in a given region, teaching eager-to-learn pupils the art of mid-19th century home economics. The time for her to leave on her next tour of duty was imminent, where she'd be visiting the rural schools of Wales. More importantly, Roberta wouldn't be seeing the love of her life for the next 3 months, and we're going to call him Sydney. On the evening before Roberta was due to leave, Sydney was starting to anticipate the heart-wrenching moment of watching the steam train steal his beloved from him for 12... I'm imagining Sydney's going to be played by Nigel Havers. To anticipate the heart-wrenching moment of watching the steam train steal his beloved from him for 12 whole weeks. And in a situation like that, there is only one thing a man can do. He proposed to her, presumably anticipating a positive reply, which would leave him feeling more secure in the future of their relationship. However, Sydney didn't get the reply that he wanted. Rather than saying yes, Roberta told him to meet her on the platform the following morning when she would give him her answer. Wow, what a tease.
Yeah, I like it.
She needs to be sure, though, doesn't she?
Do you think?
Yeah, there's things to consider.
Okay. Imagine the scene the following morning. Roberta has her cases beside her as the sun rose on a crisp, clear spring morning, and she waited to give her beloved the answer which he had been waiting for all night. But after waiting for some time, Sydney still hadn't arrived, and before long the train was heard whistling in the distance. The chuffing of the train got louder, the billows of steam came closer and closer. Roberta got more and more anxious, but still no Sydney. Roberta's eyes searched up and down the platform, and finally she saw a figure. There, running towards her, was her man. But actually it wasn't Sydney. Instead, it was his brother, Lawrence, out of breath and looking very unsure about what he's about to say. Lawrence told Roberta that he had come because Sydney was actually too lazy to get up, and that he was actually still sound asleep in bed.
Wow.
Being the gentleman that he was, Lawrence had to race down to the station in the hope of getting there before the train left so he could break the news to Roberta. As you can imagine, Roberta was heartbroken by Sydney's laziness and indifference, and after 2 months touring Wales, this had turned to anger and revenge. So on her return, Roberta did what she thought would get back at Sydney the most. She married Lawrence, out of spite.
Out of spite.
No.
Great. Well done.
Now, you may be wondering what transgression has been committed for this tale to be written. Well, at some point later, and the details of when or how may have been lost in the mists of time, it transpires that Sydney didn't oversleep on the day of Roberta's departure at all. In fact, he'd actually been deliberately locked in his bedroom. It turns out that his brother Lawrence, from afar, was also passionately in love with Roberta and wasn't about to let Sydney break his heart by taking this beautiful teacher as his bride. And as much as I seek absolution for this crime on behalf of my family, I find myself in a difficult position, because on the one hand, a very dastardly deed was committed by Lawrence, so forgiveness is needed for him. However, my very existence is a result of this heinous act, so I'm rather grateful for what Lawrence did. I therefore place this tale of love and deception in the hands of the purveyors of posthumous pardon to decide firstly if I should ask for forgiveness for the acts of my great-grandfather, and if I did ask, would they forgive him? So it's certainly the oldest story, taking us into new areas.
Yeah, I like this.
It's like a Sunday afternoon drama. That's what it is. So a tale from the mid-1800s, and there's no doubt that a wrong was very definitely committed. Fancy locking your brother in his room so he couldn't go and propose to the woman of his dreams. That's got to be unforgivable. But from Andy's point of view, he wouldn't be here if that actually hadn't happened. Or maybe it would be a different version of Andy. Now Bobby's looking troubled by this one.
Well, do you remember Katie only a couple of weeks ago who did a similar thing? Katie, who made me very, very, very disappointed.
Yes.
I mean, it was probably one of the most difficult ones we've had to reside over. There's two problems with
Was that
this.
the Valentine's Day?
No, that was the girl that the two best friends. There was the three of them.
Oh, the love triangle one. Yeah.
And she basically lied to both of her friends,
That's right.
and then
That
was
was a
quite
terrible
smug about
thing.
it. It was a terrible thing. The thing is, of course, it's not Andy's fault, and I understand the history between us. But the problem is also Roberta, because she only married Lawrence out of spite. She didn't even know him. So the thing is they're all wrong. That's the thing is Lawrence is definitely wrong. But you know what? You can get out of your bedroom. I'm sure you could lower yourself. I'm sure you can still get out of your bedroom somehow.
You don't think he could be bothered
Well,
to
also, I know it's Victorian times, but they did have the penny stamp then, didn't they? You could have written a letter and said, look, I was locked in my bedroom. Even if she said yes to Lawrence at the station, you can get on a train yourself, Sydney, and chase after her and go, look, I've been misrepresented.
Well, you never knew where she was. She was at one school and then the next school, anywhere in
Okay,
Wales.
so actually, I'm going to say, Andy, this isn't your fault. But I don't think Lawrence is forgiven. Because it's still not right.
Still not right.
It's still
absolutely.
not right, not forgiven.
Brother Matthew.
Well, yeah, you do have to ask, as Bobby's pointed out, what on earth is Sydney doing in all of this time? Why isn't Sydney ever mentioning to Roberta, by the way, I would have come, but, Lawrence locked me in my bedroom and I couldn't get out, or else I would have definitely have been there. And so, and
you couldn't send a text, back in those days.
It was just before the time of text, wasn't it? 1800s. And the other point that's worth saying is that, frankly, marrying out of spite, well, you've got to have a reason to go up the aisle, and why not go through the entire ceremony just so you can give a knowing look to someone on the groom's side of the family. So why not? I'm all in favour of that. And isn't it true that, love takes us on many twists and turns? I think Jane Austen probably said that.
Probably.
Pretty sure she did. So I am going to forget